Hi guys, hope you're all doing well out there and enjoying this peaceful solstice, winter solstice week. Of course, a time of reflection, looking back, where could we improve, what can we do moving forward to, move more in line with our purpose and what we're here to do and that kind of stuff. The whole purpose of the solstice period gets lost with this Western distorted version. But I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk to you about something completely different. It's about diet, particularly my own journey with veganism, and how this really ties into the New Age agenda. This channel has never been about diet. So guys, if you're new to the channel, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and don't forget to press the bell notification for when I upload new videos, because I am very strongly shadow banned on here and sometimes my videos just won't show up at all. So right, let's get into it. Right then, so I'll start at the beginning with my own journey. So about 4 years ago, just after I started really waking up to everything, I was suffering some health problems, particularly digestive issues. I was on a traditional Western diet. Of course, back then I wasn't really that conscious of what I ate anyway. So naturally, my digestion wasn't very good. And as I came into awareness and certain information that's put out there about how diet could heal, it interested me, because at this point I already had come to the conclusion that going to see a doctor and relying on drugs and pharmaceuticals wasn't the way forward. So I went online, and of course you are presented with an array of information of plant-based and how going plant-based can heal, and veganism and all this kind of stuff. And it all tied in very nicely with spirituality and ethics and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to give that a go. And so I trialed it for a week. I actually went vegetarian, and indeed my digestive issues did start to clear up. So that gave me confidence. And then at the same time, it was very strange, because it was almost like one after another. I fell into these documentaries, Earthlings, Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives. These are all on Netflix right now, most of them anyway, and anything on Netflix really shouldn't be trusted. And so, of course, what that did, being a human and having emotions and feelings, when you see things like that, immediately you're horrified. I wasn't aware of all of, obviously you're aware that your food is killed, but you don't quite know how it's done and in what environment. So at that point I was particularly horrified and quite angry that this had all been hidden and how these poor animals were treated, etc., etc. And I have to say, at this point, throughout this whole journey that I'm going to explain, it has made me realise about factory farming, and I no way are an advocate of that. The point is that I fell into all of this kind of guilt tripping, vegan guilt tripping, I think I would call it now. And I decided that I was going to give up eating animals for good, and so I did. And at the point I was still eating cheese and dairy and stuff, and I continued to feel quite good for, I'd say, maybe 6 months to a year after that. And then of course you start going into the other layers, which is often found in the New Age, and you go to these quote-unquote retreats and people are going from vegan to fruitarian, to raw to plant-based, and then the idea is we become really enlightened, where we don't actually eat anything to sustain ourselves, and we all become breatharianism, right? It sounds crazy. I must admit, I did fall for it a little bit, and at that point, I think I was in Asia at the time, I decided that I was going to quit the dairy, which was pretty dangerous because really that was the only source of any nutrition, because I'll talk about this in a bit. So I went full vegan. This was in about 2016, and yeah, I quit eggs and everything like that, and I continued working out. I've always worked out a lot, and I believed that I was living the best life, the cleanest life. I was doing the least harm. Of course, they don't tell you about all the monocultures that get killed, all the insects, all the birds, all the rabbits, all the smaller life that gets killed when we rely on crops and grains and all that kind of stuff. I was only taught, really, as you are, about chickens, cows and pigs. And so yeah, I had a blood test that came back really good, which I've now since found out that you can, basically plants have anti-nutrients in them, because believe it or not, plants don't want to be eaten either. In fact, nothing in this reality wants to be eaten, but it appears that's the way it is. It does appear to be a circle of life in that respect. So yeah, so plants having anti-nutrients, which makes them indigestible by the body, and actually quite dangerous. And fiber is also, since I found out, after you turn away from these new age channels like plant-based news and all that kind of stuff, fiber is also indigestible, which is why so many vegans get bloatedness, digestive issues and stuff like that. So these blood tests come back, they were good. And so my point being there was that the nutrients will show up in your body, but the point is they're not, your body can't absorb them, okay, because of the anti-nutrients. So if you have a blood test, they'll show up, but your body can't absorb them, okay. So anyway, I was thinking, yeah, I was doing CrossFit and blah blah blah. I was thinking, yeah, I'm living the healthiest life, and this is what I felt for a few years. And then I'd say the deterioration started around the start of this year, because basically what happens, what I've since learned again, and what these vegan doctors don't tell you in new age scenes, is that you last on a plant-based diet or a vegan diet based on the amount of animal products you ate beforehand. So it's almost like you eat your storage. Once your storage runs out, you start eating yourself. And so basically at the start of this year, I started getting a lot of brain fog. I'd wake up in the morning in like a haze. And of course, as a vegan, you want to blame it on everything else other than your diet. And this is what I did. I was looking at all kinds of stuff that I thought it might be. And anyway, I kind of ignored it for a while. And then yeah, I just realized, then my memory started going. And even in interviews, if you look back at some of my previous interviews, there's times where I'm just really forgetful of basic words. I remember like slurring and just not being completely there, so to speak. And this was getting worse and worse. This was when I was in Costa Rica, and then a month ago we have a Spanish teacher, and I had a Spanish lesson, and she came round in the morning. I'd just woken up. The brain fog was so bad, and I sat down with her and we started going through Spanish words, and not only could I remember the Spanish words, I couldn't remember the English words. And it was at that point I thought, this is not right, something's not right. At that point I had started seeing a lot of ex-vegan videos where other people were coming out saying that they don't feel right. Because what's happening now, veganism really kicked off in 2010. So people that got in it back then are now starting to experience the deterioration, right? Because you can last for many years, especially if you're eating vegetarian, because you're still getting the eggs, dairy and milk. But what's happening now is that many vegans are starting to experience in that deterioration, and they start coming out to speak about it. And I watched one video where someone was saying that that you can experience brain fog, you can experience memory loss, because it shrinks the brain, because you need, this is again what I've found out since, the vegetables are deficient in over 50 nutrients, including vitamin A, D, B12, K2. They're also deficient of amino fatty acids, which build the brain. And then you have vegans that are feeding their, these new age vegans that are feeding their children vegan diets. And there's videos now where these kids are looking really deficient because there are no growth hormones in the products they're eating. So it's all been a big mess. And really, and I talk about this on my channel, awakening from the awakening. Well, I've had another one of those because and actually I need to talk about this as well. Because initially I was quite vocal about veganism. You know, I wanted to save the animals, you know, all that stuff. But about 2 years ago, I saw all the propaganda that was coming out. You know, you've got people like Bill Gates that are encouraging people to go vegan. Then you have Illuminati puppets like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Beyonce going vegan. And then I see billboards everywhere. And you know, all of a sudden I'm seeing that veganism is being pushed everywhere. The supermarkets back in the UK, I go back a year later, it's full of vegan food. So, you know, when something's being heavily promoted like that, you know, I always think, well, what's going on here, right? And so this was the case. I stopped encouraging others about veganism because I had doubts about the agenda. And I just sat on it, and I sat on it for about 2 years before, you know, without encouraging others. And this is when this degeneration started to kick in. And basically, for the last month, I've incorporated animal products. I'm feeling 100% better. My memory is much better. It's not perfect yet because I feel like the 4 years that I wasn't eating animal products has done me some damage there, which can be reversed. But the brain fog has gone, and a lot of other things have improved. And I've just been doing so much research about the other side of it, and the stuff that we're not getting told by these plant-based doctors, which is all tying in with New Age, where people are going to do these detoxings, these fasts. What's happening as well is that people are, and this is what I did as well, is that when your diet is not working as a vegan, because it's not part of the religion, because that's what it actually is, to blame veganism, you look for other excuses. So you think, oh, maybe I still need to detox heavy metals and all this stuff. So what you do is you then go on more extreme fasts and that kind of stuff, further depleting yourself of the body's vital nutrients that you built up before. So you're quickening the deterioration. So anyway, that's a really long story shut down into a nutshell. But it's being heavily promoted, and as I say, I'm gonna leave a couple of short videos which I'll put in now about you know, how it does tie in. But we have to be very wary because, you know, we've got to this point in our evolution through eating animal products. So why all of a sudden is it wrong? Why all of a sudden after thousands of years has it now been deemed as wrong? And actually, when you look into it, it is more the carbs that are killing people, the plant-based stuff that we can't actually digest. But it's very dangerous because it ties in with this morality of do no harm, and you know, you think that you're moving closer to spirit. You know, we're becoming lighter beings, you know, we're becoming closer to God, and if you eat this animal products, you're going to be more further away from spirit and all this stuff. Well, actually, when you think about it, it makes sense, because we're in this 3D physical reality. We're supposed to be fully human. And I spoke about this on my last live feed. There's this obsession with kind of getting out there somewhere, when actually we need to be more grounded to enable us to help deal with this 3D reality that we're actually living. So the new age is trying to get people to escape what they actually are. And there is more prominence put on the spiritual realm than there is the physical realm, when in actual fact, both are as important as each other. To wrap this up, where I think the agenda is with this, is that they want to make people weak. You see how a lot of these vegans are feminized, particularly the males, so you're getting them in the new age where they're avoiding all the negative, you know, very kind of weak, and yeah, you wouldn't want them on your side on a field of battle, these new agers, because they won't address anything negative. They want to make us weak mentally. They want to make us weak through our diet and through all this new age propaganda. So guys, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and let me know your feedback down below. What do you think about this? What's your idea on veganism? And have a lovely holiday. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.